New York Times conducted an investigation of how the Tate brothers were freed from Romania, and everything that you thought that was going on in the background turns out was real.
Confinement in Romania.
Yeah, Epstein Jr., the poor man's Jeffrey Epstein.
Andrew and Tristan Tate posted a video to their followers.
We're massively back, massively.
They were in a private plane being whisked to Florida. Since 2022, they had been under criminal investigation in Romania. They had both been accused of trafficking dozens of women into a porn business that they ran. Andrew had also been accused of raping one of those women and of having sex with a 15-year-old. Prosecutors in Romania had prohibited them from leaving the country.
Feel that? It's the feeling of leaving Romanian soil.
This moment is the culmination of years of efforts by the Tates to cozy up to conservative influencers, members of the Trump family, and administration officials. My name's Megan Toohey. I'm an investigative reporter here at the New York Times. My colleague Isabella Quai and I have spent months interviewing dozens of people in Romania, the United States, and Britain. We have reviewed hours and hours of video clips, hundreds of pages of text messages and emails and court documents. And we're able to piece together how the American right helped the Tate brothers get out of Romania. Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan are major stars in the so-called manosphere.
Welcome to the party, gentlemen. He-Man, woman haters party. It's a man's party.
Andrew is a former professional kickboxer who built a huge online following, preaching unapologetic masculinity and chauvinism.
All of history was built by men, always has been.
If a woman is going out with a man, she belongs to that man. That's his woman.
He's told his audience that they were victims of feminism, that they've been maligned by the economy and brainwashed by the media.
You are now full slave mode, and that's all they want. So you will continue to work your shit job for shit money.
He and his brother have gained millions and millions of followers. They sell online courses to young men about how to make money and how to exploit women. That included this PhD.
As I've said over and over again, this is insecurity masquerading as masculinity. These guys love presenting themselves as beacons of masculinity, when in fact, they are simply masking their insecurity, okay? And the issue is a lot of other also insecure young men cannot see that these are just insecure older men, and they lean into it.
Program, short for Pimping Hose Degree. They share what they say they've learned in pushing their girlfriends into making online sexual content for paying customers.
It's not just about picking up girls, it's about converting them into really loving you enough to moving in with you and working for you and giving you all the money.
The brothers, who have both American and British citizenship, started this porn business over a decade ago in Britain. In 2015, Andrew was arrested 3 times after multiple women accused him of assault. And while prosecutors eventually declined to bring charges, the investigation prompted Andrew to leave Britain. Andrew said that he thought that they'd be better served in Romania.
It's a little bit lawless, you know? You can get away with shit you can't get away with in the West.
Eventually, the brothers get banned from several of the biggest social media platforms, only to find new homes on Rumble, a site that was backed by J.D. Vance's venture capital firm, and Getter, a right-wing site. And then things really explode. In December 2022, the brothers are arrested in Romania. They had been under criminal investigation for several months after a complaint that an American citizen had been held by them against her will. The brothers are charged with organizing a criminal group and trafficking 7 women into their porn business. And Andrew is also accused of raping one of those women. And later, prosecutors in Britain would bring charges of trafficking and rape against Andrew and Tristan.
Literally roping in JD Vance for no reason? No, it's not for no reason, and you will understand why it's actually relevant. Rumble is a right-wing website. It's not an accident that all the right-wing content creators are on Rumble. I think they tried to do an initiative and they tried to be more like a website for all. They tried to become like a market competitor to Twitch. They even had an initiative with iShowSpeed and Kai Cenat. I believe they just like dumped boatloads of money in that direction. And then I think they did like one episode and then never again. And they just basically got the bag and moved on. But yeah, the face of Rumble right now is Nick Fuentes. They have this like super pro free speech attitude, but you know what? It's code word for, obviously. But the reason why it's like backed by JD Vance's venture capital firm is for that reason.
Additional charges that have been authorized will move forward once the Romanian case is complete. Through our reporting, we also found that the Tates have been quietly under investigation here in the United States by anti-trafficking agents and federal prosecutors. Andrew and Tristan Tate deny all allegations. While all of this is happening, they're building more and more powerful allies in the United States. In 2017, as Andrew tells it, he did a tweet in support of Donald Trump, and soon Andrew and Don Jr. had connected at Trump Tower.
The president's son, he made me a coffee. Like, he's a cool dude.
And this support and this relationship continues through 2023. When Andrew and his brother are placed under house arrest, Don Jr. sends out a tweet of support. By that point, the Tates had hired Joseph McBride, this attorney who had come to prominence representing Trump supporters accused of insurrection on January 6th. And McBride pitches his new client to conservative host Tucker Carlson, who travels to Romania and conducts a lengthy interview with Andrew in his mansion.
I mean, I was sympathetic to you already, but a man's accused of human trafficking. It's worth finding out what he's accused of.
The Tucker Carlson interview gets more than 112 million views. This is a key turning point. Soon, other high-profile conservatives are defending the Tates.
When I see some of these videos and I see conservatives assigning like real meaning to you saying stuff that is just so obviously content for young boys.
Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan stand for the same things that I stand for.
Some real principled conservative values, I'm glad that we got a demonstration of the real principled conservatism that I hear about all the time.
These relationships are mutually beneficial. These conservatives are tapping into Tate's audience to expand their reach and connect with a demographic that is crucial to the president's re-election campaign.
Listening to him with Tucker for an hour and a half, 2 hours, it clicked.
Ignore the bait,
Okay, now I see why he's popular.
And by 2024, Barron Trump is also a fan. Barron hosts a dinner at Mar-a-Lago for several prominent conservative influencers. One of them was Justin Waller, who has helped the Tates run their businesses and says that he's widely seen as the third brother. Waller told me that Barron admired the Tates, and he said that he and Barron called Andrew together and discussed the Tates case. When we reached out for comment, McBride called our reporting on the relationship between Andrew and Barron fake news. So the Tates are building up a lot of support here in the United States. And after Trump is reelected, some of those supporters have even more power and influence than they did before. Paul Ingrassia, who had once served on the Tate's legal team, is now the White House liaison to the Justice Department. He had called Andrew Tate an extraordinary human being and a target of the deep state and the satanic elite. Alina Habba, who had served as a personal lawyer to Trump, was now a counselor to the president.
It's kind of funny because like Alina Habba apparently cannot even be a lawyer. Trump's RGB lawyer, Alina Habba, she was in the news recently. And Paul Ingrassia, or whatever his name is, also was put up for a position that he could not get because he was just saying unhinged ass bullshit, like incredibly racist things, and demonstrating Hitler admiration in private group chats. So, a great team overall that Donald Trump has surrounded himself with. Fantastic. Yeah, Alina Habba, former Trump attorney. Alina Habba resigns as top federal prosecutor in New Jersey following an appeals court ruling last week that found she was unlawfully serving in the role. Habba said in a statement posted on social media on Monday that she was not quitting in the face of legal challenges, but instead resigning to protect the stability and integrity of the U.S. Attorney's Office. The decision will not weaken the Justice Department, and it will not weaken me. After Trump returned to the White House, he tapped Habba in March to serve as the acting U.S. Attorney for New Jersey on an interim basis. He also nominated her to serve in the position on a permanent basis, but she failed to garner enough support in the U.S. Senate to win confirmation. That touched off legal challenges that culminated in a unanimous ruling last week from a 3-judge panel in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. The court found that Habba was unlawfully serving as a U.S. attorney, and it disqualified her from supervising cases. The reason for that is because after Trump returned to the White House, he tapped Habba on an interim basis, then wanted to make it a permanent basis. The Senate refused to confirm it. With her 120-day interim tenure about to expire, the U.S. District Court for New Jersey opted not to keep her in the job and instead appointed a career prosecutor, Desiree Grace, to the post. Attorney General Pam Bondi then fired Grace, and the administration undertook a series of complex legal maneuvers to put Habba back in charge. And then the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit decided in a unanimous decision that she was not lawfully serving as a U.S. attorney, and it disqualified her from supervising cases. So she's not actually resigning. She's being fired from her position by force. Damn, they really wanted her in that position. She must be really qualified. Yeah, well, she is, because the only qualification that Trump cares about is dick riding. In that sense, she is the most qualified because she was a loyalist through and through. I still suspect that they unanimously decided she was unfit for the position because she's a gamer, and everybody knew that she was a gamer because she had an RGB Alienware laptop. But that's just my own headcanon. Don't take that seriously.
She appeared on a podcast with Andrew in January.
We need strong, powerful voices like yours. And yeah, I got your back over here.
And this man, Richard Grenell, a special diplomatic envoy for Trump, discussed the Tate's case with at least 2 Romanian officials. Our reporting found that one of those discussions took place last December at Mar-a-Lago with an advisor to the Romanian Prime Minister. Ponta told us that he had discussed the Tate's case with Grenell. He then backpedaled and said they had not discussed the case. The other discussion was with Romania's foreign minister at a
That's crazy that this is like a big enough deal that there are people in the Trump orbit that were actively trying to extract the Tate bros out of Romania. What are we doing?
Conference in Munich in February. In a statement to the Times, Grenell said it was the foreign minister who raised the issue of the Tates. His statement did not address the Mar-a-Lago conversation. The public support from some of these allies set off alarm bells in Romania. Officials at the American embassy in Romania told us that they feared what would happen if their bosses in Washington instructed them to release new passports to the Tates in violation of the Romanian criminal justice system. It didn't come to that, but an extraordinary order came down from the highest levels of the Romanian government.
Why do they feel they even need to go out to bat for the Tates, though? They don't have anything to offer for Trump except for clout. I mean, clout is all it takes. It's also a message. It's a message to everyone. If you are loyal to the Trumps, if you glaze the Trumps, we'll get you out of trouble. It's the same principle behind like pardoning all the January 6 offenders. You can do criminal shit. It doesn't matter. We'll protect you. If you are a right-wing commentator, we will protect you. Also, birds of a feather, you know?
On February 26th, Andrew sent a text message to someone close to him that we reviewed. He had been...
The left and the right does the same thing. Oh, yeah, no. Who could forget when Joe Biden did that as well?
Made aware that he was going to be released. He wrote, "I have very detailed instructions from the Americans about crossing borders, phones, passports, etc. I can't say more. This goes into instant effect." The next day, the Tates file a request that prosecutors lift their travel bans and return their passports. We spoke to sources who spoke to us on the condition.
Yeah, the leftist Biden. Like, I know it's a joke to even consider Joseph Robinette Brandon to be a leftist, but like, even if that guy thinks that, can he point to one example? Obviously, Joe Biden is not a leftist. It's laughable. But even if he was, can you give me an example, please? Hunter Biden was literally prosecuted under the Brandon regime. For one Hunter Biden incident, there is like literally a million things that Donald Trump has done. He has pardoned Honduran drug traffickers, the former president of Honduras. Only as recently as in the past 2 weeks, he did this.
Of anonymity, who told us that the prosecutor wanted to do this. But the prime minister believed that lifting the travel bans would appease the Trump administration. He did not respond to requests for comment. In the early hours of February 27th, the brothers were driven to a private plane.
No one has ever been more back than we just got.
At the time, we asked McBride, their lawyer, whether the Trump administration had anything to do with their release. And he didn't answer the question directly, but he said, quote, "Do the math. These guys are on the plane." Once they're back in the United States, the Tates are filming themselves partying in Miami, looking at apartments in New York, hobnobbing with Kanye West in Los Angeles. But they weren't welcomed by all. There were some conservatives who spoke out against them upon their arrival. Some said that they undermined traditional conservative values. Other people likened the allegations against them to the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. Through all of this, it's becoming clear that there is a rift on the right. Trump says he knew nothing about it.
I know nothing about that. You're saying he's on a plane right now?
An official with the White House said it is not involved in anything related to the Tates' legal matters. In March, they returned to Romania for a court date and have not come back. Shortly after they left, one of Andrew's former girlfriends accused him of assaulting her when they reunited during his visit. She said that when they had sex, he had beaten her and choked her to near unconsciousness, which he denies.
The Jeffrey Epstein files have become a defining issue for Trump in his first year back at the White House, stoking allegations that his administration is covering up for the most notorious sexual predator in recent American history and his accomplices. But something that's flown under the radar is the story of how this man and his brother, two of them there, both facing charges of rape and human trafficking in Romania, were suddenly allowed to return to the United States, and how the Trump administration might have been involved in that. One of those men, Andrew Tate, is one of the most proudly, violently misogynistic influencers in the world, with an enormous following online, particularly among young men and even teenage boys. And in his online content, he and his brother have bragged about their recruitment and exploitation of women to make pornography. Both brothers have repeatedly denied criminal wrongdoing. Well, now the New York Times, in a remarkable investigative report, finds that they were released from Romanian custody only after Trump administration officials intervened. An official in the White House told the Times that it was not involved in Tate's legal matters. But the Times reports that 6 days before Trump's inauguration, Andrew Tate wrote in a text, quote, "I had word from the Trump administration that they're on top of things. I've been told I'll be free soon." And here is how the Tate brothers reacted when, in fact, they were freed. And they boarded their flights back to the States the very next month.
No, you are, Andrew. Do you know what we are? We are better. We are so back. No one has ever been more back than we just got. That's right.
Sure. And we never really left. So now we're back. Never left, but we're massively back.
Megyn, too, is a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter for the New York Times, one of the reporters who broke that story, and she joins me now. It's great to have you here. This is phenomenal work.
Thanks for having me.
I say that to you a lot because it's always true. So first, I guess, just for folks that don't know who Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan are, like, can you just give us a sense of who they are and what kind of content they made and what their message is?
Sure. So they are huge stars in the so-called manosphere. Andrew Tate, in particular, has built a massive audience of mostly young men by preaching brazen masculinity and chauvinism And they have also taught courses on how to date women and exploit women and make money, and have also, very notably, run a...
I think we need a different term for this, because it's not masculinity. They're being weak as... This is not masculinity at all. It's something entirely different. I'd go so far as to say it's beyond toxic masculinity. Like, we're talking about alleged sexual predators.
Business for about a decade, in which they kind of bragged about basically dating women and then steering those girlfriends into making content, online sexual content, in which they take most of the profits.
If I'm not mistaken, I think one of the courses they offered was like a pimping course, right? It had the acronym PIMP.
Yeah,
right?
it was a PhD, short for pimping hose degree.
Yes, and the whole idea was, and again, they would say this, is we will teach you how to find women, create some sort of what appears to be romantic connection with them, and then use that to manipulate them into them making sexual content that you profit off of. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And they were born in the United States, but grew up, spent much of their life growing up in Britain. And so they launched this porn business, if you will, around the mid-2010s when they were based in Britain. And then in 2015, they moved to Romania. We found out Andrew was actually under criminal investigation then for alleged assaults of multiple women. As he tells it, thought that Romania, was a place where you could get away with a lot of stuff that you couldn't get away with in the West.
I think he even said that,
He even
right?
said that, yes.
Yeah, get away with.
Yeah, exactly. And so they they basically relocate to Romania. And so they're running this business out of both like Britain and Romania. They're growing it into a variety of platforms with a variety of women. And so they're doing all these things simultaneously. They're doing the porn business. Then they're teaching the online courses in which they're basically saying, we'll teach you the lessons we've learned from this.
And there's some of the the MMA stuff, fighting and working out, and they're like, he's super ripped and all that, like all of that stuff adjacent to the sort of exploitation.
Yeah, exactly. Like super fitness. I mean, Andrew got his start as a professional kickboxer.
Right.
So it's really maximized that image.
So they have this huge following. Now, so that's sort of uncontested, right? That part of it, like that this is what they're about. And they've said it, and they've talked about needing to treat women like slaves, and you need to dominate them, and you need to treat them like a dog, that you say to them, you give them orders, right? And that you have to condition them the way you condition a dog. That's all stuff they've said. There are a variety of criminal allegations against them. Let's start with the Romania case. That was the reason they couldn't leave the country, because they were under indictment.
That's right. Well, the reality is that they're actually under criminal investigation.
Sorry, criminal investigation. It's a different process.
It's a different process. So they have been, since late 2022, they have been under criminal investigation in Romania. And the allegations are there that they have coerced dozens of women into their porn business, into what amounts to trafficking. And that Andrew has raped one of those women. And there's accusations that he had sex with and beat a 15-year-old. And so
I want to just say that again. There's an accusation that he had sex with and beat a 15-year-old.
Correct. And so this case, as the prosecutors have been building this case, they have repeatedly sought to keep these guys confined. And so they had been prohibited from leaving the country as the prosecutors are building this case, with the prosecutors saying that
This is the type of shit that the Republicans are staking their claim on, or they're staking their reputation on. I mean, obviously their reputation isn't great to begin with, but it's just like so insane that like you couldn't find a different content creator. It also doesn't really make sense that like dudes look up to these dudes. Like, I'm not too much of a old head, right?
Posed a public danger and a flight risk.
I want to read some of these texts that you have gotten in the article. This is a woman who says, do you want me to be your slave or your wife? This is a woman who, again, he's sort of, it seems to be recruiting kind of quasi-romantically and then maybe trying to move him to something else. You'll do whatever I tell you, which is the same thing. I'll choose a woman to be my wife. She'll love me enough to let me tell her what I feel like. I will decide if she's a slave. And then this is a text exchange in a text chat titled Pimps. This is two associates, along with Tristan, the brother, discussed how to punish a woman who said she would no longer work for them. Tristan Tate, the move now is as follows. Okay, both of you go, get her out of the house. Okay, hit her if you have to. I don't care. Don't let her take her things. Thanks. Okay.
You're right. Those are among the text messages that the prosecutors have gathered. I mean, we've been pouring through hundreds of pages of court records from Romania in which they've gathered together and spelled out what they say is a long pattern of this behavior with a variety of women.
There are other criminal charges in England, am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. So in Britain, prosecutors have authorized charges. They're not just under investigation. They've authorized charges of trafficking and rape against both brothers there. And those are charges that they'll have to face when the Romania case is complete. They'll have to go to Britain and face those there. And we also realized, one of the things we discovered in the course of our reporting, I worked on this with my colleague, Isabella Quai, and what we found was that here in the United States since 2022, anti-trafficking agents at the Department of Homeland Security, as well as federal prosecutors here in New York, the ones who eventually won a conviction of Sean Combs, have been investigating the Tate brothers.
We should also note that almost immediately upon return, a girlfriend of Andrew Tate's accused him of assault and rape. He denies those charges. She has now sued him. He has countersued her for defamation.
Right.
So that happened immediately after it came back. Now, everyone, I think, has a picture of these individuals at this point. They were in Romania. It's very clear from your reporting, even though the Trump administration has tried very hard to run away from it and deny it, and Romanian officials have tried to deny it, that there was some pressure put by the Trump administration to get these guys back to the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, what we found was that their release from Romania was really the culmination of years-long efforts by Andrew Tate in particular to forge very strategic alliances with prominent figures on the American right, media figures like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, people in the Trump family, first Don Jr. and then Barron, and then eventually some of his supporters who were very public with their support and defense of him and their criticism of the Romanian criminal case ascended into the Trump administration.
Alina Habba has talked about him. Richard Grenell, who has a kind of freelance portfolio and in fact admits that he discussed the case with a Romanian official.
Right. So, right, exactly. Paul Ingrassia, who actually served on the Trump's legal team, he ascends into the administration as well. And so after this new administration comes in, Richard Grenell, in particular, we found, had discussions with at least two Romanian officials about the Tate's case. One at Mar-a-Lago in December of 2024, the second in February at an international conference in Munich. And what we also found was that within days of that second conversation, an order from the highest levels of the Romanian government came down to the prosecutors in the criminal case saying, you got to strike a compromise with the Tate brothers. And they did not.
They were unhappy.
They were outraged, but they did follow through with ultimately lifting their travel bans, which the Romanian prime minister believed was going to appease the Trump administration.
It's truly it's really a shocking set of events and incredibly scrupulous reporting about all this. And people should check it out at the New York Times, where you can read some of these texts and you can read more about some of the allegations against Andrew Tate and his brother, which the men deny. You should definitely check it out. Megan Twohey.